Hello, happy March, happy Sunrise on the Reaping release month. Sunrise on the Reaping comes out next month, and so in this vlog, I'm going to be doing all my prep before the book releases. So I did pre-order this book. Normally I do not pre-order books, however, with The Hunger Games, it is one of my favorite series of all time, and if you are new to this channel, you will quickly learn that. I think I talk about it in every other video, and if you're not new to this channel, you probably are sick of me talking about it, but sorry, not sorry. So Sunrise on the Reaping comes out on the 17th next week. I pre-ordered my copy. Hopefully I get that on the 18th, but we will see. And so this week I am going to be doing my pre-work to get the most out of Sunrise on the Reaping when I get it. So what that entails is I'm going to be rewatching the movie The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, since that's the only installment that takes place before Sunrise on the Reaping, before Haymitch's Games, and I'm also going to be rereading the book. So I will be taking you guys along in this vlog as I prep for it, as you know, I do all the things that I need to do in order to enjoy Sunrise on the Reaping to the fullest, and it's going to be a great week. So grab a drink, grab a snack, get cozy, and join me as I get prepped for probably my most anticipated read of 2025. In case you missed it, I got a new book side table to hold like my TBR and all the books I want to get to next. So I recently set this up and I'm super excited about it. It is just a dream. It holds all my things and it is stunning. I purchased this off Amazon and it was actually not stained, and then my husband and I stained it and made it this beautiful walnut brown color, and I'm loving it. So excited about it. Can't wait to use this every single day. So in anticipation for Sunrise on the Reaping, I am going to be rereading the book, like I said earlier, and I'm really excited about it because I don't think I've reread it since the movie The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, and so it'll be really interesting to see how I relate the book to the movie once I read the whole book again and watch the movie, because I know the first time that I watched the movie, I had read the book months before and didn't go back and reread it ahead of time, so it'll be interesting to see the connections I pick up and how I will feel watching the movie, knowing all the details that I do in the actual book. So that is my plan for today. I'm gonna dive into this, get it started, and hopefully fly through it and just enjoy it as much as I did the first time around. And then, you know, it'll drum up some hype and drum up some more anticipation, more excitement for Sunrise on the Reaping. Like, this is my Super Bowl. This is my Super Bowl. Suzanne Collins drops a new book in the Hunger Games world. My Super Bowl. Like, this is my Super Bowl. I don't know how many times I could say it. I'm so excited. So excited. Hello, happy Saturday. I have started The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I started this yesterday on my lunch break and it was delightful. I got to read outside because it was beautiful where I live. So I got one chapter in, so it was just a refresher of Coriolanus and his family and Tigress and everything like that. But now I'm gonna try and get a big chunk of this done. I have a dinner with some friends tonight, so I don't have too much time to read, but I'm going to try and sit down, get some good reading in, and hopefully make a dent. It is currently Saturday the 15th, and Sunrise on the Reaping comes out on the 18th, which is Tuesday. I'll definitely be able to finish this by then. It's just a matter of how much time I devote to it. So if I am really good about sitting down, reading, chugging through this, and getting the refresher, when my copy arrives, we'll be able to just get into it and get started. But it's just a matter of me sitting down and reading it, which I'm trying to get out of a slump right now. I feel like the last book I read kind of put me in one. It just felt kind of boring the whole time, and so I really struggled to read through it. So hopefully this takes me out of that and gets me back into reading consistently. I also watched The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the movie, a few days ago, and that was a nice refresher. It's also very nice to have some visuals to tie in when I get back into reading the actual book, because of course when you first read it before the movie comes out, you form your own visuals and all that, but it will be nice to tie some of the imagery and the setting in as I read, because obviously the movie is much more imaginative sometimes than what I picture. So my goal is to get to at least chapter 7 before I have to leave. We'll see if I can do that though, because I do have to leave in not like super soon, but not like I don't have like hours to read. So we'll see. Is anyone else just like really bad at finishing their coffee? I feel like I get a cup of coffee and then like 3 hours later I still have like a little bit left at the bottom. I got the Ravenclaw mug today. Happy Sunday. We had a McLaren win today. Having a great day. I am about 60 pages into the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I did not get to chapter 7 like I wanted to. I think I got to chapter 5, I want to say. But a really quick update. One thing I noticed in the movie is it's so true to the dialogue in the book. A lot of what Lucy Gray says throughout the movie is straight from the book. Like, they did not change much, which I love and love to see, just knowing we are strict to the source material. So that was fun. I also was able to put on the soundtrack for the reaping, like when Lucy Gray gets up there. And so as I was reading it, I had to turn it on and like time it up so that as I was reading it, she was singing it in my ears, and that was so cool. I love that. So I'm excited to do it for the rest of the songs that she sings. Sunrise on the Reaping comes out on Tuesday, so I think my copy will be here Tuesday or Wednesday, and I cannot wait. I really need to make some progress on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, get through it. Love how true the movie is to the source material. It's definitely interesting rereading it because knowing how it ends and seeing like Snow's progression throughout the book, getting to see like the little hints and foreshadowing that is dropped, just seeing of course him being super selfish, super focused on him and his family, and his rise surpassing all of the opportunities to be a good person. And so you really just get to see like there are so many ways he could have made a different decision, been a good person, like really made some change, and then he's like, nah man, Snow lands on top. So with that, I'm gonna get ready, gonna hopefully do some damage. I'm hoping to get through at least half the book today. We will see how that goes, and if not, Monday and Tuesday I will be glued to my reading chair after work, chugging through it because I really, really, really need to finish this. So that's on the agenda, and I'll check back in when I have other updates. So the District 10 girl just killed her acne, and it definitely happens differently in the book. Like in the book, she's like playing to the audience of like, oh, you can't get it, and it's a sandwich, not like a bottle or a drink or whatever. And then the circumstances of how that all goes is different. Like her throat gets slit instead of like the bottle, and the guards don't like immediately start firing shots. I mean, they do later. And then just like how the medics treat choreo is different. But I'm reading the walk back, like Snow goes back to his apartment. Apparently Festus was there. Yeah, it's Festus, Clemencia, and choreo. And so Choreo and Clemencia walk Festus home. He invites them in, but then he breaks down crying, so that doesn't happen. And then Clemencia's like, oh, I can't think about the assignment tonight. And then Choreo is thinking about it on his way back to his house, and he's like, well, Dr. Gall would definitely punish us for it. But then the whole point of this was to get to the line where he's like in the shower washing off like all of Arachne's blood, and it says, in the near scalding water of the shower, he scoured the remainder of Arachne's blood from his body. For about a minute, a painful sobbing made his chest ache, but then it passed, and he wasn't sure if it had to do with sorrow over her death or unhappiness over his own difficulties. This man is the epitome of only looking out for himself, all about his own self-interest, and like, I get it, times are tough. Someone died in your hands. I remember first reading this book and kind of like, even knowing who Choreo turns out to be, I remember kind of feeling a little bit like, oh yeah, I can understand the circumstances. But then as I'm reading and like remembering all these little sentences and little tidbits that we catch on to, like in seeing his villain arc, I'm like, how when I first read this did I ever feel any sense of like empathy for him? Yeah, they definitely made Arachne very, very brutal in the movie, maybe to make her death not feel warranted, but feel more like it was coming to her. Because I remember, because in the book so far, like Livia, the girl who gets the District 1 tribute, is more of like sassy know-it-all, but in the movie she's like not even talked about. But then they really, really tried to make Arachne in the movie like the obvious like villain type, and she's definitely not great in the books either, but it's just interesting that difference. So on I go. So a bit of an update, I have made significant progress in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think I have about 100 pages, yeah, like 102 pages to go, so I will definitely be finishing this tomorrow, and I'm so excited about that because an exciting package came in the mail today. I'm so excited. I had to use all of my self-control not to immediately pick this up and start reading it, but I had to remind myself that the context I will get from here will make reading that book all the better. So I'm super excited about that. But a few thoughts from my reread of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The way that the 10th Hunger Games ends is way different than in the movie, which I kind of forgot about. Because obviously in the movie, the end of the games happens with the snakes, but in the book, the snakes happen and then they take out some of the tributes, but then there's a handful of them that don't get taken out, and so the rest of the game still plays out for a little bit, and so that was interesting. It's also different, of course, because we don't get to see Lucy Gray actually do anything in the book because it's all from Coriolanus's perspective. Also, the way the tributes die and the order they die is completely different. So I knew that the movie took some liberties and was definitely not going to be book accurate 100%, but I think I was a little surprised at how inaccurate it was in some parts. Again, I shouldn't be surprised though, because that's just how movies go in general, because they cut some stuff from the book. But I am at the part where Corio and Janus are in District 12 being peacekeepers in training. Coriolanus just took his officer test, which they don't even touch on in the movie. So I think they don't touch on it until like the very, very end. So that's going on. And then Coriolanus is also realizing the true extent of Sejanus's loyalty to the districts and utter disagreement with the capital. And so we all know Corio is a capital boy at heart, and even a love like Lucy Gray will not change his mind about that if he had the opportunity to go back, which is, of course, what we see in this book. So it's just been fascinating reading this book again, knowing how the story ends and knowing a little bit more about Coriolanus, like just as I have read the series a few more times now, and also like this is my first reread of the book, being able to catch stuff that I might have missed the first time around and, you know, tie it into just like what I know of who President Snow is now. It's also really interesting because as Snow is like where he thinks he wants to be, like he's in District 12, he's with Lucy Gray, you know, he thinks, of course, at first it's like terrible, but then Sejanus shows up, he's like, oh my gosh, this might actually not be that bad, despite the fact that in the capital, anytime Sejanus showed up anywhere, Corio was not having it because he was like, I'm so sick of Sejanus. So it is just a testament to how Coriolanus is fine with anything as long as it helps or aids him in some way, because he is 100% completely, totally self-serving. So that's my little wrap up, I guess, of the pages I've read. I think I read over 200 pages today, which is fantastic because I finally got to sit down and read it. I blame it on the fact that I really want to read Sunrise on the Reaping, and that kind of spurred me on to read quickly, be focused instead of being distracted like I might have otherwise. So that is where I am right now. I have about 100 pages left, hoping to finish this tomorrow, and then I am jumping into this and I cannot wait. I've stayed away from social media to avoid any kind of spoilers. I've seen some quotes already from the book that I think the Fable app Instagram account posted. Without context, I luckily wasn't super crazy spoiled for anything, but look at the parallel, like with the snake and the songbird too. Similarly, the Ballad of Songbird Snakes. I am excited to finish the Ballad of Songbird Snakes and dive right in to Haymitch's story, but I do need to go to bed. So the next check-in will be my final thoughts on the Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, and hopefully me digging into Sunrise on the Reaping. So I have finished the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it just reminded me of all the things about Coriolanus Snow and a lot of Panem lore that I'm excited to take with me into reading Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm jumping straight into this. It is definitely a little past my bedtime, but I need to at least start this. We'll see if that is a mistake or not, depending on when I fall asleep. But I'm glad I stuck through it and decided to reread this before picking up Sunrise on the Reaping, because I have heard from the people who have read it and finished it that all of it ties together in Sunrise on the Reaping, and so I'm glad to have a refresher on what I'm sure will be references in the new book. Overall thoughts, I think that my second read through, it was easier to pick up on all of Coriolanus's like moments and avenues that he could have chosen to be good and decided to go the way of power. They were hard to miss, and I know I picked up some of them the first time around, but there were even additional spots in the story where I was like, wow, he really just decided to become the villain despite all the opportunities to be a better person. And that is where I will leave this vlog. Thank you so much for joining in as I did my Sunrise on the Reaping prep, and now I can happily say that it is time to dive into Sunrise on the Reaping. So stay tuned because my thoughts on this book are coming super soon. So if you enjoyed, please subscribe and like this video to let me know. Leave a comment if you have other thoughts on the book or anything that maybe I forgot to mention that you would love to discuss. I am pretty good about responding to comments and I love interacting with you guys and hearing that. But this is where I leave you. Check back soon because I will have thoughts on this book. But I'm gonna start reading. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys again soon.